Hello, I'm Quinn Brown Huffman,
And hi, I'm Tanya Meeks.
and this is the Motherhood channel. Welcome back. This is our third episode. We're on a roll. This is awesome. I
I
love
know.
the momentum. It's good.
I know. I'm very excited about it. I love
And
the,
it's amazing to be able to keep going because, like you just said, in the ever-changing landscape of motherhood, sometimes you feel like you're on a roll and suddenly you hit a boulder and things just shift.
avalanche, an earthquake. You don't know what you're going to hit.
You
Yeah.
never know what you're going to hit.
Yeah.
But as we are moving into this sort of topic for the day, here's the quote that came to us from the Tao, the Taoist, and I love it. The Taoist attitude is to go with life, to go all the way without any conditions. Wherever life leads, go with it. You come from life. You are part of life. So how could life harm you? There's no need to be afraid.
I know it was perfect because we were like, what are we going to, how does it work? I was like, the crazy train of motherhood. No, the ever changing landscape. And then you pull this like beautiful quote that's like on your desk, which is following the
Hmm.
natural thread of things, which I love.
I know. And for me, it's always dropping the fear because the moment we can just follow what is up and stay present with these kiddos that have an ever-changing landscape that's so fast. Because I mean, especially the first 7 years is just,
Mhm.
it's so fast. That's the thing. It's the roller coaster is real. Yeah. Yeah. And to not go on that roller coaster feeling fear, but rather the excitement of, okay, and curiosity. That's a big one, is feeling curious about, okay, where
Yeah.
might this lead? I thought you wanted to go to the beach today. It's not.
I know. Well, it's funny because I lead with like a very adventurous, spontaneous style.
Mm.
And I remember when I was pregnant, I was running groups at a residential addiction treatment center, and one of the women in the group that was like in the group was saying she was a mother, and I was like really, I was like very pregnant, like like the last part of my pregnancy. I mean, I was there through my whole, I don't know why I'm going through this whole day. Anyways, I was very largely pregnant. So anybody come in as like, hi, here's the pregnant therapist. So it became like a topic that got brought up a lot because I was very pregnant. And she was like, oh, you're going to change. You're going to have this rigid schedule that you're going to be locked into. And I was like, no, actually. And I still always think of her because I remember thinking, oh my God, am I going to be locked into like a prison of a schedule? And I would that instead of being like I was terrified of that, but it is an interesting, yeah, it's just been an interesting journey to watch how people do it and how other mamas do it and what works for
Ooh.
each kiddo, like
Yeah, and you actually just triggered this thought that I channeled. What day was it? I think it was Monday.
okay.
That came through that was so, it just put me at ease because one of the things that I have a really hard time with is rules and routine. And if you tell me what to do and how to do it, everything in me
I have
just
the same
goes
thing. Maybe that's why we both love each other. We're like,
revolt.
yay.
And then having kids, I realize there is a sense of routine that serves them. I get it. I
No,
understand
totally. Yeah.
parts of it and the boundaries and all of that. Yes, And then I found this thing came through for me, and I'm like, it's not about for me. Again,
Yeah, no, I get it. I want to hear. I'm excited. Yeah.
nothing here is this is just what works for me. Is instead of routine and rules, it's rhythm and ritual.
Oh, I love that.
And
Because rituals and rhythm were both like, oh yeah, the ocean, the
that's
rituals of
changeable. It's consistently changing with what is up
yeah.
and create. And I think it was also very real because we were going through Halloween and Samhain or Dios de los Muertos that I just learned how to say.
I know I
And
still am like, I was like, yeah, the thing, the Day of the Dead, the thing, which
the
that's
light,
beautiful. Yeah.
yeah. So I love the ritual and bringing home and it was Charlotte who came home and said, Mom, I need Halloween to not be a scary holiday because I love it and I love the celebration. I wanted to mean more and be more in celebration of death, because I don't think death should be horrible and scary and gory. It's not. It's just part of the cycle of life.
Oh, it's
So
so brilliant of
it's
her.
my
I
11-year-old.
love that. That is so beautiful.
My day was made. It was beautiful. So she said that, and then we did a gorgeous ritual that we've never done really. We've done different, but that's the thing. Ritual keeps changing depending on who's involved. It's like every time I do a sacred circle, it's different. I
It
bring
depends on who
ritual.
shows up. It depends on who shows up. That's why I think when people think that they're going to do X, Y, and Z as mothers, you read your child, like intuitively, you read the child and what works for, like Sparrow. He does not want to wear a costume. And I've never been attached to him wearing a costume, but he loves the holiday. He loves like the harvest and the pumpkins and the things.
Oh, that
But
smile
you
on
know
his
what I
face.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
but there is something in honoring that it's going to evolve for each individual child and the unit and where you guys are. Like you've been in different cities and with different combination of family, like
Really. Yeah, I mean, just the difference between here and South Africa around Halloween is so vast. And we love both and we honor both. And so it's always going, it's not better or worse, right or wrong, but it's really what validates you being alive in this moment and what helps you, well, let's use the word calibrate, because
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what the day was like. Also just finding what gives me that sense of balance, or I am in my skin and in
Mhm.
my body and I can manage who I am as a child, a mother, part of this family. It's amazing. So,
What was the ritual? What did you guys do?
so I printed pictures of everyone that has been dear to me that has passed, that now
Yeah,
is
yeah.
somewhere in the ether, and put them on a altar with some candles and burned some incense and had those beautiful orange poppies that
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the year, and that I know is part of the Dias de las Muertas. They
Like the
string them.
marigolds. Yeah, the marigold,
Is that what it's called?
well,
The
there's poppies, but then I think they use the like
It's
marigolds.
marigolds. It's the
The
ones that's holding the
orange.
vine. Yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
orange.
yeah.
And then everyone spoke around who stands out for, who they remember and what they remember, bringing out a
Oh, I
memory,
love that.
celebrating them, and then and I mean, and for me, what stood out that really came through is that every single person that has come and gone in my life,
Hmm.
such a connector to the next gift that would
Mhm.
change my life irrevocably.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get that.
Actually, it was every death I experienced would bring this rebirth of a new relationship or a new journey. And the big one's my dad, who brought me to San Francisco,
Oh,
brought me to
really?
family. If he didn't whisper San Francisco in my head and my ear as his favorite city, I would never end up here.
Oh, I
Oh, now
love that.
LA,
That's how
but
I ended up in San Francisco. So my brother moved from Ohio to San Francisco. Well, he moved from Ohio to Florida to San Francisco. He's 12 years older. So when I first visited him, I was like, I will move here. And so he passed away, and I still was like, I will move there. And that's what I did. I moved as soon as I could move. I was 19. Yeah.
oh wow.
Yeah. I didn't know that. Anyways, but he loves San Francisco, and his love of that city is why like his energy lives there. Even, yeah, it was like I went and felt this, even though I
Yeah,
felt him everywhere, there was like this special thing of like, I'm gonna live in the city by the bay like him. And that love
exactly.
that song about wearing flowers in your hair, like that whole thing. So I was like, oh, I'm here.
It's magical. It
It
was.
is,
It was
yeah.
a magical time of my life. Exactly. So yeah, the ritual was beautiful. It really set us into this diving deep time.
Hmm.
And as we acknowledged astrology last week, I mean, I know we're in between the eclipses and things just feel,
Yeah, I mean, it's
deep.
supposed to be really like not sluggish, but things are gonna move like slow right now. Things aren't going to like happen at the speed of lightning. So it's like to fall into that place of like letting things, and I feel like it's a time of like leading with intuition and like what your divine gifts are, and like honoring those and letting those grow. But it's not a time of like, I'm launching 50 different things and like pioneering new things. It's more of like cultivating that core dream.
That is absolutely, yeah, that feels really true to me. Thank you for clarifying it, because that's
Mm.
exactly how it feels, like slow and just tune back into that core.
Mm-hmm.
And it's deep because it's very fertile. It feels really like
Yeah,
compost,
yeah.
and like I'm busy with this big
Like
fork and
fertilizing this whole thing. You're like, there's
digging
a
it
lot
out and
happening.
sorting it. It's really emotionally and spiritually, that's what it feels like. So it's powerful and good and beautiful, but it's, you know,
It's
allowing
palpable. Like it's a
it
palpable, like it feels like heavier to me, heavier. The energy feels
is.
heavier, and yet, and then let sharp and like sharply intent, like dramatic, even though it's so sluggish and powerful. It feels dramatic. You're like, what? It's slow, it's dramatic. I don't know what's happening.
It's
Yeah.
exactly that. It feels very dramatic, but it's hard to put it into words because I can't, it's hard to explain it in
Mm.
the visceral world because it's so inner. It's in my inner life. I see my goals, feel it. I feel myself going. As the mother, I go, oof, sure, I'm so short-tempered. And Charlotte and both of them go, yeah, you are. It's probably the moon, mom.
I know. I know. I call us. I was like, we're cranky bears or us. Both of us are like, because we were just talking about our sun signs, and you have an Aries rising. I'm an Aries, but I have a Gemini moon, and you're a Gemini. And then
Oh,
Sparrow is like a Gemini, but has an Aries moon. But we both can be pretty like fire. Like it's beautiful, but there can be a lot of fire that gets ignited. Like,
and how helpful is it to you to know that? Like, how helpful is it? Talk about that, like knowing that that is part of his birth chart, and that makes, how does that
well, I
help?
like looking at the whole chart just because I can feel like his, like, think of Gemini's needing to like communicate, talk through things, like share the whole story. There's a lot of like need for communication and mental stimulation. And there's a fiery thing, so if he's emotional, he's quick to go from it's intense. And so I'm an Aries, I'm intense, but emotionally I process, I'm like, we're gonna talk it out. Da, 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 but I still have the Aries. So it's just like a lot to remember that we both have these parallel. I don't know. I think it's always good to look at someone's chart. Look at the whole chart, not just like their sun sign, but you can go on like astro.com and put in your birth date, time. And that's from a woman, Liz Green, who has like a more depth oriented um look at astrology. Like her books are really dense. They're I
Say
love
your name again.
Liz Green.
This
It's
green.
through astro.com. I can't think of any of her books, but she has like one on Saturn. They're like diply, I'm tired. Deeply, dipply. That's really funny. Anyways, it's like
Two,
um
Peter Piper, pick up.
yeah. Anyways, they're just like dense, like mythological books on like the archetypes
Oh,
of astrology. So her
okay.
stuff is really good. And she has an interesting story because when she first started working, she wanted to work with Linda Goodman, who at the time was like the big astrology. And so Linda Goodman basically rejected her. And she was bummed, like, oh, my life, it's like was this catastrophic thing. But what she did is she created her very own style of more like a depth psychotherapy, mythological look at astrology that is
Oh,
perfect. It's just two very different styles. But if she had been under uh, Linda Goodman's wing, she wouldn't have developed her own style. She would have been like, this is what you're supposed to do. Like she wouldn't have paved her own road. So I think I think you all, yeah, have to look at like astrology and like transits and all of that stuff with like, what do you identify with, and dive into that. So I love Liz Green because it's like deep and gritty. And
hmm.
I like that there's more. depth to it, but you can do like a free chart on her thing. You can do a composite chart and put your chart together with your kids or with your partner or whoever. And it's just, I like her stuff.
I mean, I feel it's, I was thinking about it today because I wrote my blog today, and it's all the pieces of the puzzle. It's
Yeah.
like we are so quick to say one thing works and the other shouldn't, and people get a little caught up that it's a little other, but I love how universal this language is becoming.
Yeah.
I used I used Chani. I was introduced to Chani through
Oh yeah. Yeah.
my soul sister, and she is wonderful. And
Yeah. I love her stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um she was on Good Morning something, like
Yeah.
some,
Her career has totally taken, I love to see like she wrote a book and she has it,
but I
it was
love
like
that
small and it just like blew up, but she worked
all
really.
the presenters were just like in awe of her and going, is this for real? Because, but
Mhm.
it's becoming a universal language. It's becoming more every day. More and more people are talking in this language. And it's really fun because it's insightful. And it's like the human pin code that I use as a coach a lot, because you just use the numbers and
Yeah.
it's so precise and beautifully unique to each individual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the puzzle piece. But I know it helps me with my kids to go, oh, okay, this is why you like this kind of food. I'm not going to force you to eat um, my butternut soup when you are a fiery pita style
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Totally.
um, person that cannot actually, it's the texture, the whole thing just grosses her out.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
do you take offense? That's a very simple example, but
Well,
you
no,
know,
I get that though, because you can also look at, I mean, I love looking at like all the data you can look at, like numerology and astrology. You can look at human design, and there's a part in human design too where you can look at someone's chart and see um where they most resonate. There's like different types, and it'll talk about like food and how they connect and what they need. And like it's, I can't remember on sparrows, but he's someone that needs more private, like like a place to hunker in, like a little, I don't even know if, I think it's called a cave. Like mine's a kitchen where it's like social and connect, and his is like a cave, but it's good to remember like he needs to recalibrate in
that's,
like his own little sanctuary.
oh, I love that. That's
It's,
brilliant.
so it's actually, it's like one piece where you look at it and it'll give different, but I'm like, oh, that's very fascinating. But I look at it as like a puzzle of the whole thing. So I like to look at the human design and the astrology and then my own intuitive sense of him, and then also combined both of our things, because I know he has a Virgo rising, so there's a lot of things with Virgo that I'm like, I'm not, he'll be like, no, what are we going to do next? And it's like going over the day like 60 times, and I'm like, but it changes sometimes because X took 50,000 hours because you are a Virgo and you needed to do these precise things. So
I know, that's so
time
beautiful.
like became this. So yeah, it's fascinating. It's just fascinating to look at all the pieces, right?
It is. And I love how we now full circled it, because we started with the chaos that it can be and the ever-changing path that
Yeah.
motherhood has. And here we have excavated beautiful tools that we can
Yeah.
all dive into if we can take the fear out of it. There's no need to be afraid, because life offers us, we were born under a certain set of stars to a certain mother or father or people, to in a community where
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is available, if we can just settle into the day, take our pauses when we need them, just recognize each other and ourselves in
Hmm.
it. It's all there. And so within this ever-changing landscape, rest assured, there are the tools for us.
Well, I think there's lots of tools, but I think it is like, how can you, I think there's never really figuring it out. I'm like, okay, so I analyze the human design and I analyze the astrology and I analyze this. And then ultimately, still, it can be like, oh, wow, that all blew up. And now we're going to figure out some new thing to look at the blueprint. And he's like, you're not going to figure it out, lady. So there is part of me that like wants to like navigate this map of something that I may not be able to like lay like a blueprint over and understand and dissect it to figure it out.
So
So
just letting it be, right? Or what? It is. It's maybe there's nothing to figure out. There's just the experience to be had. It's insane.
it is
There's
insane. It is like an insane, like, um, yeah, just evolving,
yeah.
whole thing.
I think that's the word of the day. We're evolving. We're
Mhm.
consistently just in this experience to see where we evolve to. I don't know. It's kind of fun though. I love talking about it. I love talking about it with you.
Yes, I do
Just
too.
really fun excavating. Is that the right word? I don't know, but
No,
it's
excavating.
unfolding this thing and all the different ways because we're all so different. There's just so many millions of ways of
I know, to do it.
so fun.
Can
It's
you
so
think of a story where you, like, I'm like, because earlier we were like, we're going to start doing improv. And so I was like, can we think of a story that relates to excavating, analyzing the data, like the ever-changing landscape?
well for me. I think I've got one that just jumped into my head from the past talking about food and when I dived into finding Ayurveda
Oh, yeah,
very
yeah.
on the sort of very superficially, but it really helped me because I could not figure out Charlotte's eating habits and how I could best give her what she needed in order to function. She wouldn't, because we're so different in that way.
What are you in the Ayurvedic?
What's that?
What are you in Ayurvedic? What?
I'm like a Kava Hita.
Okay. Okay.
And she's very, very, well, when I was then at that time, she was maybe 2.5, 3. I
Okay.
was pregnant with Laura. And I mean, Charlotte really made it real for me that there's a difference between local organic food and store-bought food.
Yeah, yeah.
My mother-in-law would get this box from the local farm, and I'm talking raw vegetables. Charlotte would eat out of the box happily. And whatever I would bring out of the store, because our budget, she was like, I'm not eating that. I'm just not
Yeah.
eating
Yeah.
that.
You're like,
Now she didn't have any words, but she was just like,
yeah.
no,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can stand on
It
your
would
egg,
go away. It would just be
sprinkle sugar
done.
on it. You can do what you want, won't eat it. But she would eat the food from, so I started getting the box and she would eat happily.
Yeah,
But she
fascinating.
loves the raw foods and raw carrots, and that's good. But that really, I found Ayurvedic teachings around the different body types and digestive systems
Hmm.
really helped me as a mom in to get my kids to eat nourishing food because I was feeding them according to where they were at
Yeah,
in the
yeah. No, I get that.
moment, and to identify it really helped. Um, and she only started eating after a year. Like she breastfed and she maybe tasted food here and there, but wouldn't eat. She was happy on breast milk for the first year.
Yeah,
With
yeah. Yeah. He had no interest in food forever. Like literally, it was like,
busy, and that was enough. And
yeah.
she's a great eater. Like she eats everything, loves food, loves to try new things now. And yeah, it's just that's the
Mhm.
story I have now. That's the one that came up talking about excavating and learning new things and what they
Yeah.
bring into worlds. Nothing I would ever have thought of looking at.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
How about you?
I know. I was like, oh, she's gonna wing the question back at me, and I'm gonna be like, I
Ta-da!
don't know, I don't know. Boomerang. She's like, and now it's your turn. What do you think? And I'm like, I don't like when someone asks me, I like asking the question. What was I thinking that? The thing, it's funny. It's something we talked about a while ago. Is that I am so extroverted and have always went to really big events and been fine with it. I've never noticed like, oh, there's a mass number of people here. And that might be hard for another individual because that's not my, like, it doesn't even register as an issue. And I do understand that people are introverted and extroverted and sensory and have,
I'm very
yeah, you're what?
I'm very sensitive to big crowds. I get
Yeah.
very
So
scared.
Sparrow, from the time he was little, if the energy of a place was too loud or too, I mean, even as an infant, he would just like, he would make it, you would have to leave. You would just, it would be like, okay, we're actually, and it took me a long time, even though I think I've been very intuitive and been able to track like a lot, like, oh, he really doesn't. Like, remember, I was going to a different, like, I was like, oh, the Hana Fest or whatever, like music
No,
festival.
you've been on a journey with that. That's for sure. I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just was like, oh no, these are fine. They're outdoors. It's fine. And I finally was like, oh yeah, he really, in his heart and soul, if he never, because now like he does like, I'm like, but he does like music. And I was like, we were playing music and I was like, oh, do you like it? And he was like, does that mean we're gonna go here?
He knows
I was like, yeah, I was like, no, no, I genuinely just am gonna play it and like play it on the little speaker thing. We're not going to go to another thing, I promise. Until the next thing that I like whip out from, but it's been a learning experience to go, oh wow, like I've been doing this cold plunge and sauna at this place, Breathe in Carlsbad. And even if that place, he comes with me, is like today we went in, I usually try to time it when either a class is happening or there's a gap between classes. And it's mellow, like it pretty much the slowest period I can find is when I'm going to try to go. Today we went in and there was a lot of hubs. Somebody was delivering a TV screen. There was a baby that they were showing around. There was the owner, it was just a lot of activity, like more than I've ever seen there. And he just was like, no, we are not. So we walked around outside and I was like, well, we can leave. That's fine. Why don't we give it like a few minutes and see if it clears out? People might just be, so we took a walk outside, then we came in, somebody said hi that he didn't remember that, was like, oh, so then we sat on the sofa, but eventually everybody did clear out. But it was this thing for me too, to like wait it out, not just to be like, oh, it's going from one extreme where I'm like, we're going to go to every busy thing and it's going to be fine. We're going to figure it out. Two, I see it's busy and I'm like, oh God, I gotta leave, and then I'm doing the other flip of the polarity. So I was like, okay, maybe there's a balance of like, we can watch as
yeah.
the people from a distance
Yeah.
and watch it clear out. And then he was like, I said, why don't you peek in and see if it feels good?
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And then he was like, and he liked, because then he had autonomy to be like, I'm gonna gauge what I think.
Yes. Don't
And
we
then he
all?
was like,
That's amazing that you did that. I love it. I'm
yeah, it was
learning.
like this beautiful dance. I was like, oh, because
Yeah.
it's not just the quantity of people, it's like hard to dissect. Because sometimes there can be masses of people and it's fine if it's structured.
Mm.
Like we went to like a Halloween carnival festival where there was like kids games. So it was very busy. Like for me, it was pretty overwhelming. Actually, I was like, this feels busy to me. I don't understand how this doesn't feel busy. But meanwhile, he was like, no problem. There's 12 booths. There's a line. You line up with the people. You wait to do whatever game you're going to do, and then you're finished. But there was an order to there
Oh,
was
I
like a
see.
system. So
Yes.
I'm like, it's not just the crowd. It's like, is there a system? Is it loud? Like,
It's all these pieces. There's so many pieces to look out for.
yeah, because another friend was like, oh, you've identified this. He's probably not going to like that. It's really busy. But I was like, intuitively, I was like, no, I really feel like, I'm like, am I doing pulling a Tanya where I'm like, no, no, it's fine. We're going to go. My adventurer is like, we're going. And then I was like, no, no, I really think intuitively, like,
Yeah.
it's going to be okay. But you never know. Like, but I think that for me has been the journey of like the landscape. I literally am super intuitive, super conscious, like have analyzed the blueprint. And I still don't really know if the scene of X, Y, or Z is going to work. Right. Like,
Don't, because the scene keeps changing, and all we have in every single moment is what I hear you say is that your intuition, if you can really just settle into that, is
is
the only thing that can gauge you. And but that's moment to moment, because you intuitively feel this could be good, but that thing that you're going to could change, and then you have to be able to stay
and
in the moment.
sometimes like you'll be driving somewhere and I'll be like, no, I don't remember what it was the other day. I was just like, no, 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 as I was driving. And I was like, but this was the plan and blah, blah, blah. He's attached to it. And then we got there and I was like, well, it was kind of a no. I guess I should have. Like, I really should have listened. Like, it was a pretty clear, like, oh, wow, we really didn't have to. But that changed like last minute, like the feeling of it.
Mm.
Yeah. So
And I think that's our challenge as mothers is that with all this noise coming from the outside world, all this noise of rights and wrongs and good and bads, and this is good, this is the way to do it. This is the dogma around it. We cannot hear our intuition. We're
totally,
getting
because it's the world is so loud.
so loud. So let's leave everyone with just this sense of take a deep breath and really make sure you move at a pace where you can hear yourself, and you shut the world out enough, long enough in the week or the day or the month where you can check back in to hear yourself, hear your own way forward. I think that could be
And
something
you
that,
always listen to your own intuitive thing,
yeah.
especially with parenting. I feel like,
Oh,
because, yeah, it's like the most powerful tool out of all of the toolbox pieces,
exactly. I
for
love it.
sure. Even though I love all the other things so much,
So
but the
fun.
main
It's
thing
more
is like
fun.
none of those things work 100% because they all are variables. So,
Exactly.
yay.
Yay, that was great. I love
Yay. Thank you all. Thanks for
it.
tuning in. And
Yeah,
next week,
keep coming
we're going
back.
to do,
Share this with whoever you think could benefit. Who knows where this is going? We just love sharing our conversations with you, and who knows what gets channeled through here in the motherhood.
I
Lots of love.
love the motherhood of the hood, the channeling of the motherhood. It's perfect. Yay. Yeah. Please share. And I'll just say one more thing. You were just saying that you were shared it with people that weren't mothers that still like got so much out of it. So I just think you never
Yeah.
know what story is going to land with people and who and how and what it'll evolve to. So I'm
Yeah.
excited and love to hear from you all. And thank you for listening.
Just love.
Big love.